What's up, Titans? It's Tom Knight from Tighten Up Your Game, and today I want to talk about data analysis. You're probably thinking, what? But don't worry, I promise it's not the kind of super difficult computations like the ones you'd be doing in statistics classes or anything like that. Nope, it's all very simple actually. I'll show you how I document my progress and how I use that data to uncover previously hidden correlations and literally see what progress actually looks like. Stay tuned. Famed author Peter Drucker once wrote, "You can't manage what you can't measure." In other words, if we really want to know what's working and what's not working regarding our fitness goals, we have to keep track of what we're doing. It's really that simple. Personally, I track two things every single day. First, I enter everything I eat into MyFitnessPal so I always know how many calories I'm eating, how much protein, fat, and carbs I'm consuming, what my average caloric intake is, what my average macro breakdown is, and so forth. I've been doing this for over 5 straight years now, and I have never missed a single day since I started. Second, I write down every single rep in every single set of every single workout I've done since the beginning of 2018. I'm in my 4th year of doing that now, and like MyFitnessPal, I haven't missed a single day documenting my workouts since I started doing it. But here's the thing. At some point, we have to do something with all that data, and that's where analysis comes in. One of the ways I like to analyze my data is to take a look at what I ate during a certain period and compare that with how easy or difficult it was to maintain my ideal weight during that same time. It's fairly easy to see these correlations too if you've done a good job of periodically entering your weight during that same time frame, which I pretty much always do. I just looked for upward or downward spikes in my weight loss journey and then zoom into that time frame and took a look at precisely what I was eating, how much I was eating or not eating. And every time I did that, I saw what you would call a positive correlation, meaning the more calories I ate, the more weight I gained. The fewer calories I ate, the more weight I lost. This is valuable information. And every time I adjusted my diet based on that kind of analysis, I found that the data always repeated itself, reinforcing the strength of those correlations. Now, that's the diet side of things, but what about exercise? What can we glean from analyzing our workout data? Well, I wanted to find out last month, so I sat down and scanned, finally, the past 3 years' worth of numbers and was pleasantly surprised with what I saw. Once I entered my numbers into a spreadsheet, I was quickly able to generate charts, turning those numbers into easily digestible imagery. Here's a quick example. Muscle-ups. Everyone I know who is into gymnastics, calisthenics, or street workouts wants to be able to perform bar muscle-ups. I mean, come on, they're impressive to witness. Most people can't do them, and the difficulty level is such that when you finally do get your first muscle-up, you literally feel like a titan. And that's just about the same time you realize that muscle-ups are actually one of the easier skills to acquire and that you've only just begun your journey. Because now you gotta learn to planche, front lever, side lever, back lever, handstands, and everything else. But I digress. My very first muscle-up can barely even be called a muscle-up because it was so sloppy. But hey, I got over the bar, and that's all I cared about at the time. But you know what? I began to realize that, like every other skill I've acquired in my life, technique matters. And so I dropped the ego and got to work using resistance bands to assist my efforts in maintaining decent form while building strength for that skill. At first, I began with the thickest band, which effectively reduced my weight by close to 90%, which is quite a lot of assistance. And over time, as my strength increased, I used thinner and thinner bands until I could finally do muscle-ups just using my body weight. But for some reason, I was never really satisfied with my progress. And I know that seems counterintuitive considering I had just worked my way through and out of an entire set of bands. But I just felt like I should have been better at the skill somehow, and I was feeling kind of down about it. But when I entered the data and looked at the corresponding chart, I instantly felt better. Check it out. The way I see it, band-assisted muscle-ups don't get full credit. Instead, these muscle-ups only get a percentage based on how much help I got from the bands. So what I did when I entered the data was that I deducted these percentages from every band-assisted rep to arrive at what I would call a net total of reps. So for the thickest band, I deducted 90%, since that's how much help I got. Likewise, for thinner bands, I deducted smaller and smaller percentages. And of course, when I no longer needed the bands, I deducted no percentage. Each of those reps got full credit. And as we go down the spreadsheet, you can see where I changed bands, how long I stayed with each band, and the rep counts and all that. Now, this is roughly a year's worth of data. And looking at it this way is not only unappealing, it's not very helpful either. It isn't until we turn it into a chart that things come into focus. So here's that same data shown as a line chart. Now we can clearly see an uptrend. Rep counts start out low, as expected, but then we see consistent increases, which is definitely what we want. It's very much the kind of trend we like to see in stocks that we've bought, right? There are a lot of ups and downs, but the overall action is upward. There's a period of consolidation in this general area right here, which basically means that the action appears largely flat and isn't really moving up or down. But if we look at the x-axis, we see that I changed bands a few times in the middle of that consolidation area, and that is a good sign. See right here where I got the highest rep count on purple, which is the thinnest band? That's when I decided I didn't need bands, and I dropped them altogether, thinking I was finally strong enough to eliminate bands. And things looked good for a while, but then I got a little despondent about this big dip right here, and I jumped 2 steps backwards into the red band. That was clearly an overreaction on my part, and in looking at this chart, you can quite literally see all my frustration and confusion during this time period. I was letting my emotions dictate my decisions, which, as we know, is rarely a good idea. Finally, over here, in a moment of supreme annoyance, I said, to heck with it, I'm dropping bands for good, I don't care how low the rep counts are, I'm going all in with no bands. Another emotionally driven decision. But this one luckily turned out to be the right decision because, as we see here, my chart finally broke out of its consolidation pattern and my rep counts grew higher than they ever had been. And by the way, this high point right here was weeks ago. My numbers are still climbing to this day. Now, I made a lot of mistakes throughout this muscle-up journey, as you can clearly see here. But my biggest mistake, I think, was not analyzing this data sooner. So, whether you're trying to lose weight, gain strength, build stamina, or whatever, and you haven't been keeping track of everything you're doing, start now. Remember, if you're not measuring, you're not managing. And it's not hard or time-consuming, and I promise the benefits of data analysis later on will serve you very, very well in your journey. But you gotta have that data to start with, so make a decision today to begin. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, show me some love by hitting the like button. And by all means, comment below if you'd like me to cover anything specific in a future video. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss any new releases. All right, see you on the next one.